Not long ago, anyone who seriously brought up the notion of a shadow government operating in the U.S., thwarting the will of the people and overriding our elected representatives would have been laughed off the stage. Today, we realize that corrupt career bureaucrats use their authority to guide the direction of the nation, even when it clearly goes against the will of the people. But instead of a magnifying glass being focused on the unholy alliances in Washington, we find it focused on citizens of this nation and those we elected to bring about change. Now, there are 17 government agencies with an intelligence gathering mission, including the 5 branches of the military. There are 1,271 government organizations and 1,931 private companies in 10,000 separate locations across the U.S. involved in intelligence gathering. The intelligence community as a whole includes 850,000 people holding top-secret clearances. Now, that's more people than populate either San Francisco or Detroit. But can we trust these agencies to be truthful about the scope of their activities and to follow the law? At the 2012 DEF CON, the director of the NSA, Keith B. Alexander, stated, "Our job is foreign intelligence. Those who would want to weave the story that we have millions or hundreds of millions of dossiers on people is absolutely false. From my perspective, this is absolute nonsense." Well, on March 12, 2013, during a U.S. Senate Select Committee on Intelligence hearing, Senator Ron Wyden quoted the NSA chief and then asked the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, the following question: does the NSA collect any type of data at all on millions or hundreds of millions of Americans? Clapper responded, "No, sir." Wyden asked, "It does not?" And Clapper said, "Not wittingly. There are cases where they could inadvertently, perhaps, collect, but not wittingly." When Edward Snowden was asked later what the decisive moment was, or why he blew the whistle, he replied, "Well, sort of the breaking point was seeing the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, directly lie under oath to Congress. Seeing that really meant for me there was no going back." In this last election, we witnessed the director of the FBI insert his agency into the process by divulging information on both candidates. Following the 2012 election, it was discovered that the Internal Revenue Service selectively targeted 466 conservative nonprofit organizations for intense scrutiny. And we now discover that 9 intelligence agents working for the CIA broke federal law and released highly classified recordings to the media in order to damage a presidential appointee who had been critical of their agency. This was done in spite of Director Clapper in March of 2014 banning employees of the intelligence community from unauthorized contact with reporters. Well, none of the above examples of law-breaking have resulted in consequences. Agents of the deep state obviously are protected. We're aware of these unauthorized and illegal government activities that have come to light by certain agencies, but what else don't we know? Even local and state police agencies have been co-opted into spying on Americans and reporting their information to over 78 fusion centers funded by the National Counterterrorism Center. These fusion centers are located in each state and are clearinghouses with classified intel going to and from federal intelligence data banks. Safeguards to protect citizens' rights to privacy are questionable. Our intelligence agencies seem to operate under the slogan, "In God we trust, all others we monitor." And if that weren't enough, we have the specter of special interests purchasing access and power at every level of the federal government. As of June, there were 12,553 federal lobbyists registered in Washington, D.C. alone. The top 10 spent over $300 million last year purchasing favor with our representatives and federal agency bureaucrats. This last election, tens of millions of Americans immersed themselves in the national elections, They attended rallies, watched debates, contributed money, and faithfully followed their responsibility to cast their votes, believing they and their candidates really could make a difference. Well, this year, more than any other, the sanctity of our representative government has been called into question. Unelected, obstructionists, career bureaucrats, lobbyists, and others who purchase a seat at the table have stolen our rights to self-govern. And something must be done about it immediately.